This was my first time to blend decoupage paper into a piece, and I am going to show you how to stencil and mask and decoupage and blend paint, so stay tuned. This video is loaded with ideas. All right, I'm using Dawn dishwashing liquid and just wiping this down. You can use a little sanding block and give it a scuff coat if you need to, but you really don't have to. This is Flirtatious, our new color in the DIY clay formula. I'm putting a scratch coat on with our DIY paint brushes that are super fine bristles. They're actually makeup level brushes, and it doesn't matter if you go left, right, up, or down. I want to build texture. If you don't want texture, you can kind of sand in between coats very, very lightly. And just getting it covered here, I like to start with my pieces upside down anytime I can, because you can really get all the places that you wouldn't see if it wasn't done like this. I go ahead and do 2 coats upside down, and then I turn it over. Now, I always think about if people are laying on the floor and they look up, or they're playing with their animals or their grandbabies, so I always like to get a lot of the underneath. Those little pyramids you can get on Amazon or Lowe's, and I love them to keep your project up so your paintbrush doesn't hit the surface it's setting on and picking up dirt and just wasting paint and all the things. So I'm just getting in all these nook and crannies with this. 2 coats covered it. The base coat was a spray paint. I got this table, really good bones, really strong, really clean, and it had spray paint on it, and it wasn't pilling, lifting, or anything, so I just went with it. I love to find things that already have a base color over it, because then when you wet distress, it has that color that you didn't even take time to do peeking through, and I just really love that. So don't pass those pieces up. This is a coat of Old School. I ended up using Bohemian blue later. All right, I want to show you. Can you see that? Zero in. There's like little, my paint was dirty. I had chunks in it, dirt in it, I don't know what. And I just want to show you how easy it is. Don't try to get them out while it's wet. Just let it dry. And I'm taking a very, very fine sanding block and just barely going over it. I promise it doesn't take long. You can do this to make a smoother, untextured finish as well if you want that look with the DIY paint. So I'm just taking a microcloth and wiping that off. Look, it's gone. So don't try to pick them out while you're working. Just let it go and it picks out really easy. This is some recycled paper. I do have a lot of papers left on my website. I think I have one of these little flamingos left. So then I decided the background wasn't really Old School like I thought. So I put some Bohemian blue on there, and we are just putting a coat on there. So I could have saved my time and my Old School paint, but it's all right. So I put 1 coat on, and I just use my mister bottle to kind of help spread the paint. It's so highly pigmented. You don't lose color saturation doing that. It just helps it to move. I usually don't have to do that on my first coat of paint, but the second coat, you usually do want to use a little bit of a water. So now I'm using my liquid Patina. Is the best ever decoupage medium or top coat to seal our paint. And I am just putting it down, a pretty decent thick coat. So don't try to put it on the whole surface. See how I just did half of it? I get it placed down, especially a large piece of decoupage paper. I am just smoothing it with my hand. You can take a foam roller and get some of the wrinkles out. You can take a brayer, as you'll see me do. Okay, I didn't get it centered, so I had to relift. You gotta be careful doing that, because once the paper's wet, it can tear, but it'll usually splice back together, so don't worry about it too much. That got a little dry, so I'm just wetting it down with the water and just going with my hand over it, and then here we go. I'm trying not to contaminate my liquid patina because it was a pretty fresh one, so I'm just kind of pouring it on there and putting it on there. I kind of misted the back of my paper to kind of open up the pores to get it. It just kind of helps it to lay down better, but it can also, you know, weaken it to where it rips easier, so just use caution and you'll get the feel of it once you start doing these. I do end up taking some saran wrap and smoothing out the wrinkles. It'll help you not to tear it, and it glides across there. I use a brayer, I use my hand. You don't want to push too hard because you'll push all of your decoupage medium out and you want it in there. So something I did learn later is I kept misting my paint because our paint blends and all that stuff so good, but it was reactivating the liquid patina and making my paper come up a bit. So kind of use that with caution. Caitlin was like, hey, use the sprayer on just your brush and then do it. And so I did end up doing that a little bit. You'll see later. So this is not hard. I cannot believe see how the bodies are just not there? And when I first started this project, I was like, man, I wish I was artistic enough to freehand paint their bodies so it just wasn't like a stop instead of just blending the paint in. And I ended up doing it. It was my first time. I was feeling super artsy fartsy, and I had so much fun doing this. And as you'll see me doing this is my first time to blend a piece of decoupage paper into your project to where it doesn't look like a square sheet of paper. Guys, it's like a paint by number. Those birds are already there. I just added to them. All I've done is done like you are watching these. I learned a bunch of stuff by watching people do this, and it is so relaxing. I'm telling you, you've got to get some paper and give this a go. I could have rough edge tore my edges and it would have helped. I like that look, and it would have helped maybe blend in more. But I thought, nope, I'm just leaving the square. So here I'm just going over the top of it to seal the decoupage paper. And once it dries, a lot of the wrinkles really do dry out. Okay, so this dried overnight. Now we're taking some of the Hey Sailor and Bohemian Blue, and then I used a little bit of the Weathered Wood or Old School. I don't know which. I'm sorry, I don't. You just grab a bunch of colors, and actually you don't even have to have a bunch of colors. If you have 2 or 3 colors, you can make more colors by blending those colors. So just get a couple of complementary colors to the papers in the back, and even if it's not exactly right, which it won't be, just blend it. You're blending it in, you're making dimension, you're making layers, and I love it. So I'm stippling it because then it makes kind of a softer, like blurred thing. And I'm just messing around. Like I said, this could have taken me a lot less time, but I was learning and I was enjoying the process. And do you see the blackish color and the 2 different blues and how it's just blending? And DIY paint is a whole different color when it's wet and when it's dry. So it ended up blending pretty good with the background. So here I'm taking a dry brush, it doesn't have paint on it, and I'm just literally going back and forth, up and down with some water and blending it. This is where I was lifting up my decoupage paper medium a little bit, so I started just spraying the paint instead of right on the paper. Okay, we take a little tester, we stop in the middle here, and I was like, okay, I want to see what this looks like wet distress, because remember I had a light gray spray paint under there from whoever did that, and I'm just wet distressing. Our paint wet distress is so good. So I end up making this pink, a Flirtatious, blend more with the decoupage pink. So I end up blending that out, and you'll see that in a little bit, but look how good that is. That is just, it's so fun. And if you get too much distressing on it, just go back over it and paint it again. This stuff is so easy to work with, and you can wet distress with our clay paint up to 6 months before it hardens back up to the clay. Right here, I'm going ahead and distressing the edges and letting that gray show through, because there is some gray spots in that paper, as you can tell. Okay, I started having so much fun. Here I was still like, I can't do the body, I can't paint, I can't draw a stick person. Girls and guys, whoever's watching, if you want to try this, just get in there and go. I cannot wait to try this again. Okay, I'm coming in with an arched eyebrow here, and I'm going to call this the Flamingo Love Triangle. That's what I'm going to name this piece. This guy is like, hey, you got my woman. And he's like, no, she's mine. And stay tuned for the rest of the story. Because this is a learning experience for me, I'm hopping from one thing to the other and kind of making changes on the fly. But I did need to blend this Flirtatious up more with the paper. So I added a little Petticoat pink, a little kissing booth, and I'm just kind of blending it out, going around the wet distressing I already did. But the other side, I put the blending of the paint first and then wet distressed it later. Okay, so here I'm just messing around. As you will see, if you keep watching this, and thank you if you are, I end up painting pretty much the whole background of the decoupage paper that I was trying to match in the first place. But it's okay. Like I said, I'm learning, and it was fun, and I could have probably saved a lot of time, but hey, whatever. This isn't all about, you know, just get her done in a perfect order, right? Art is fluid, and you kind of change as you see what it does and the mood you're in the next day and all the stuff. I am so happy with the results of this. Now, tell me who is going to put this in their house? It's going to have to be a boho eclectic person. I am going to start a Etsy shop at some point to put my bigger pieces of furniture because I am in Western Oklahoma, and I swear there's only about 3 others like me that like this funky furniture. So I have a lot of pieces here settings. So I'm thinking, let's put it out there to the world. So we're going to see where that goes. So stay tuned for that. But if you want this, let me know. I can ship it to you. I don't know how much that costs because I'm new at that, but I've got resources and people that will help me make sure that that is done and how to do it. So anyways, see the guy on the right? Yeah, he's like, hey, lady, quit looking at him. You're mine. So here's where I still wasn't knowing I was going to paint the body. I was just trying to blend that little harsh line of the paper in with the blue. I was just going to do a blending thing. And I don't know. I just ended up going for it, and I'm really happy I did. Right here, I'm pulling some of the Flirtatious pink up into it just to kind of balance it out with the legs. I love the legs, look just like their necks. Caitlin is the one who, when I said, I think I want to do decoupage, and she's like, what about that flamingo paper? And it's the best ever for this piece. It just mimics their legs. So this turned out really cute, and I ended up making the body. I should have Googled what their body looked like, and I never took time, so they may look like well, I think Caitlin might have mentioned a chicken, but whatever. It's a chicken flamingo. So now I'm taking the Petticoat pink to kind of put the lighter colors in there like the decoupage paper had. Now I'm taking some of our kissing booth, and kind of towards the end, I end up grabbing our Blood Moon, which is one of our new clay formula paints, and it matched that decoupage paper so good. I have my camera turned wrong, but I thought it was important to show this guy has been worked on, and this little lady doesn't have her makeup on yet, and see the difference. And so here I am building her body, and it is very much not in proportion. We're gonna say it worked, and I had to decide, do I put her leg coming down? But we're gonna say they're tucked in and she's floating on the water. Do flamingos float on the water? I don't know, I should have Googled that too. But I ended up leaving her legs off. I thought, nah, I'm not gonna do that. I just think that's above my skill level. We're just gonna go here. So I went ahead and built his body, and my plan was, if it looked totally hideous, just go back over with a boho blue and some of the other colors and just blend it out like it's water. I thought about putting some transfers on that were ferns, but then I thought, are ferns in the Bahamas? And then at the end, you're gonna see I remembered. I have this set on my website too. Debbie Design Diary curated some JRV stencils, and it's a set of 4, and it is tropical leaves. And so it just really added to it, and I loved what it did. And so you're gonna see that technique in a minute. Okay, I've decided she looks like she is with child, which is part of the story of the love triangle. So she's gonna end up sticking with her man, and the other guy's just left out in the cold. But here we go. We are just working on her little body and his little body, and I'm just doing the same thing you see me. I just am adding the Flirtatious Petticoat Pink. The Blood Moon ends up coming in here, and I'm just stippling and blending and doing streaks with a little angled artist brush. And this is where you can really have fun and know it's paint. You can paint back over it. So I would just really encourage you to get in there and go. I had no idea that I would be able to do the bodies when I first started doing this, and it looks so much better. And I am willing to give this another go on some other kind of style. I can't wait. And if you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments and I will reach out. All the products I use are in the description box. All right, so I am putting some Kissing Booth over this Flirtatious. I am spraying it with my mister bottle and taking a dry brush and just blending up and down and back and forth. I grab a brush with some blue on it, oops, but I just leave it, it's fine, it blends. And you just take whatever paintbrush you're putting the second color over, and then you just have a dry brush too, and you mist it and you just blend it, and it blends so good. Here I'm taking the Bohemian blue and adding some salt wash because I just want to make sure the line of that decoupage paper blends in. So I'm just mixing it with a stick. I love this stuff. I also have this product on my website, and I'm putting a little Petticoat pink over to the side. I'm taking a scrunched up Walmart bag. Make sure the letters of the bag you're using are on the inside because that will fade into your piece. So I am just literally stippling it on for some texture and dimension, and the Petticoat pink just adds the color in the flamingos and gives it some more depth as well. And I end up in between the flamingos, I just kind of took my stipple brush and stipped it in between there, so that would be textury too. I really like this technique. It worked really good. You're gonna see I end up using a brayer iron orchid and just kind of smushing all that paint together, and I don't know, it ended up being really, really good. Do have a couple of these sets available. There are 2 different sets of 4, number 1 and number 2, for this DIY JRV palm leaves that worked out so good. You're going to see me do a masking technique you can make yourself, and I choose which I want to do. I wish I would have put him all the way over his body like that flamingo that's trying to get the girl was kind of hiding behind it and sneaking out and saying, hey, but I didn't, and it was too late to do it, so I just left it. Okay, right here, I'm taking one of our new colors, the Electrified in DIY, and it looks so good to kind of just give some variation of green. So take a whole bunch of different greens and see how I'm putting them there, and I'm just letting them all be kind of separate on my brush, and that will add a lot of dimension to your piece. And I'm just trying to figure out which way I want to do this. There's no right or wrong. All different sizes of JRV stencil brushes, and there is a difference between quality and stencil brushes. They have really dense bristles, and it will make you use less paint. It'll get coverage better. It just literally, if you want success, you want to use a good thick stencil and you want to use a good stencil brush. It really can determine how good your stencils turn out. So you load your brush and you unload a little bit, because if it's too loaded, it'll go up under the stencil and blur your image and just not look as crisp and sharp. If that does happen and you don't want to redo it, just kind of lightly distress it and it'll be fine. Look how good that looks. And I do, at the end, you'll see me kind of doing the technique that I did on the decoupage paper to make it look more realistic and more dimension. I do end up painting some different colors and streaks and highlighting and depth on it. I only did it on one because I was over it and I was ready to move on and I needed to get this video out. So here I'm making a mask. I'm just taking a big piece of paper, and you could, if you don't have it big enough for this, you can tape 2 pieces of paper together. I end up just doing a light stencil because it doesn't have to be great, and it can be a rough cut. You do not have to do persnickety, and it'll still work really good. Now, I couldn't remember if I needed to go down into the leaves, and I didn't, and so you will see me kind of freehand some of that paint. I actually put the stencil back over it and kind of go a little bit more. But what masking does, you can do it with our iron orchid stamps as well. It makes it look like it's coming out behind without it all being muddled and messy. So the masking technique is a game changer for the level of what your project looks like. So I really encourage you to give that a go. I wished I would have cut in between on my masking, and I didn't, so I'm just putting the stencil back over and just kind of freehanding it so it looks a little bit more like they're coming back behind each other. You don't have to do it. It actually was fine, but I thought, I'll just do it. And sometimes if you feel like you've added your colors to give dimension without the stencil, like I told you I do later, and it looks kind of not sharp and crisp anymore, just put the stencil back over it and go over it a little bit again, and it'll sharpen everything up. So here I'm not doing the masking technique. I'm just going to stencil down to the part of the other one, and it turned out just fine. I thought it looked super cute. As you've seen me stenciling all those leaves, I just used a whole bunch of different colors and variations. And in one, I kind of take some of my old school and deepen it a little bit. Alrighty, after that dries, I am taking my clear wax with a wax brush, and I am just putting a clear coat over everything. I like how around the flamingos, it's the actual color of the decoupage paper to kind of deepen it and shadow it and make it stand out. So I really like how that did it. If you wanted to go a little closer, you could have used an artist brush and done that, but I liked the shadowing of it. So look at how the DIY paint changes when it's wet, it's a color. When it dries, it's a color. When you wax it, it's a color. And then when it dries, it's a color. So it's kind of a little bit of it's different than any other paint. And our products are non-VOC. They're really great to work with. So I let this dry for 24 hours. I wax the legs as well, and it is ready to go. If you like this content, I would love to have you subscribe. I release a video every week. I'm very active on social media. All my website and all my socials are Decorizing Your Life. So I would love for you to comment and interact, and I hope to see you next week.